How did you end up on WWE's radar?
You just wrestle as, I, so basically like I had been wrestling 8 years at a high level before I got signed to WWE. And essentially what it was everyone, I just wrestled on shows with everybody and so many shows and made so many friends. And a lot of my friends thought I was a very good wrestler. And it got to the point where so many people went up to Johnny Ace and was like, why won't you sign this guy? Because I would go and I would do the dark matches and I was on so many velocities and heats and, all of those shows. And so many people went to bat for me. And then, I think at the end it was like Davari, Ken Anderson, William Regal, Hurricane Helms. Like this was WrestleMania weekend. Um, it got to the point where like everyone just bombarded him and he said, okay. He knew who I was. I know who he is. Okay. And I think, when William Regal says to the head of talent, like, especially in 2006, well, why don't you, give this guy a look?
Right.
So he, what was it to him? All right, another guy I'll throw in OVW, and if he works, he works. If he doesn't, he doesn't. But my first opportunity to go to or to do stuff with WWE was, it was very. I did it on purpose. It was Dr. Tom Pritchard was the head of booking extras, and I didn't have a relationship with him, and he was doing a um a seminar. So I was like, if I get in the seminar and show him I can wrestle,
Right.
like, and even then I was thinking of the dollar cents. I was like, well, it's 125, but I think it's a good investment to do $125 so I could then make $250 or $300 each of these shows. And again, remember this was my full-time job in 2004 when I started doing extra work for WWF, and I was doing ROH. So at some points, so then I did it with Dr. Tom, and I said, hey, I'd love to be considered. And he's like, anytime we're around, you let us know. I'll have you as an extra. I was like, oh, this is great. And so I would do, and that was a Monday and Tuesday Raw and SmackDown taping. So I would do Friday, Saturday, Sunday show, drive Monday to next thing you know, I'm doing 5 shows a week. Because if they're in the Midwest or anywhere within 8 hours or 9 hours, I'm going to drive to that and I'm going to sleep on, Trevor Murdoch is going to give me his room to sleep in, and
Right.
I'm going to steal, as much catering as humanly possible. So I have meals for the road. I'm not spending that much money because I'm living off of $7, $8, $9, $10,000 a year. I'm trying to pay my bills and be a wrestler. So
Did Ring of Honor give you any grief for doing jobs on TV? No.
never,
Yeah, good. They
never.
shouldn't either. Good.
Yeah. And I remember thinking, but it was just like, Gabe, you don't pay us that much. And like, this isn't as like we gotta live. I gotta live, and I
Yeah.
want to eat, and I want to work, and like, and also he knew that like you need to go them to be seen by them to get
Right.
there. He wanted to
Yep.
move people on. He wanted them to become stars. Paul London right away. He was so happy for Paul and Spanky, and he wanted everyone to move on. And I think it would only just speak for him as a booker and
Sure.
acknowledger of talent if they became big stars in wrestling.
Before you got your contract, what are some of the guys you worked with? I think it was Jim Duggan was one.
Oh, so my best match was with Eugene.
Okay. Was it
Yeah.
was it Scotty Goldman?
No,
I mean, not Scotty Goldman. I'm sorry. No. What was it? Was it your real name? What name? What
it's
name?
Colt Cabana, I think.
Okay. Oh, you did. Okay.
Yeah,
Got it.
yeah, they let me wrestle as Colt Cabana.
Okay.
I was Umaga's first match, and I think they didn't want me as Colt Cabana, so I wrestled as Chris Guy, which was Ace Steele's real name. Because I know back in the day, like when we were getting trained, Ace and Danny would always say that they would ask for their names as enhancement talents, and everyone would just do little ribs and just do names of funny, of their friends or other people. And
Right.
so like I was like, oh, that'd be funny to rib him like that. Um, but Eugene, I think, was my favorite. I remember Jimmy Yang afterwards going like, you didn't get a job from that because I love comedy wrestling. And so I was playing off of Eugene, I was the straight man to
Right.
Eugene. And it was such a fun match. And I was able to be a foil for him. I wrestled Matt Hardy, who was very generous to me. I wrestled I think Snitsky. I got to wrestle at the Rose. So after WrestleMania, I got to wrestle at the Rosemont Horizon, which is where I grew up watching wrestling.
Nice.
Me and Jay Bradley versus Snitsky and Goldust, and I had Velcro boots at the time, so I pitched a spot to him that he like unvelcro my boot and take off my boot and take off my sock at the time and smell my foot. So that's a fun memory. And then yeah, Hacksaw and Trevor Murdoch I wrestled, and Big Vito I wrestled. There's probably just a handful of other ones. I had Brent Albright, Gunnar Scott. I think I had his one of his first matches, or if not his first match, um, where I don't think he looked that good, and then he didn't last that long. And a couple other ones. So yeah, I was yeah, and which was nice because I know Trevor told me that Sergeant Slaughter went up. Trevor Murdoch went up to Sergeant Slaughter went up to Trevor and was like, "Here's the list. Who would you want to work?" He's like, "Oh, Colt for sure." And so that's a nice feeling. I know you know
Sure.
that. Like, I think you were telling stories when people had to work Vader or something like that, or your name's on the list and you're like, don't put me with this person, right?
Yeah. I always tell the story. Ludwig Borga, he
Oh
told
God.
me, he told me, he goes, if you F up, I F you up. And he
Oh
walks
my
away.
God.
That was
Yeah.
our, our pre-match pep talk.
And he would have, right?
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he would have. So Johnny Ace calls you. What does he tell you?
So WrestleMania weekend was in Detroit. And ROH was doing Detroit shows, and then
Hmm.
Davari hooked me up so I would have a private tryout match against him. I think he was managing Kali or something at the time at the WWE hotel, and Fit Finley would sit in and watch with Johnny Ace, and it just Johnny Ace just kept pushing
Wow.
it back, pushing it back, pushing it back, and then he was, I think, allegedly, I think he got drunk and just
Mm.
didn't do it, and then we were at that bar that night. Uh, and then that's when I think Hurricane and Ken was like, "Hey, Colt was supposed to have a match, and he's over there. You know what happened?" And then he called me over. He's like, "All right, yeah, all right, we're good. Well, I'll give you a contract. I'll send you wherever you want. Nova will call you." And then I remember Nova, and and he's like, "I can't offer you." He did say that. He goes, "I can only offer you 750 a week." And at the time, they were giving 500 a week. And so I was like, "Oh, I was expecting to make 500. That's great." um, and then at that
Terrible
time,
negotiation tactic, by the way.
yeah. Right.
That's awesome.
And I
So
was
what?
making more than that on the independents at that time. But
Right,
I was like, this is an investment in my future.
right.
I think it's the right move to do this and to move. And then yeah, Nova thought I would want to go to Deep South, but I had heard the horror stories of Bill DeMott. Um, and OVW was closer. I could drive to it. It's about 4.5 hours, 5 hours. So I like the idea that I could drive back to my hometown to see my parents or just to see my friends. And so I chose to go to OVW, and yeah, Nova was like, yeah, that's no problem.
What students were there?
At OVW,
Yeah.
let's see, a very young Jack Swagger, Dolph Ziggler. Towards the very end, Wade Barrett and Drew McIntyre came in. I had been on shows with Drew since when he was 14 in Scotland. It was pretty
Wow.
crazy. Yeah. When I was doing those European, I worked in Europe a lot. Um, who else? Mike Mon, like the Spirit Squad had just been sent back. Um, I, I mean, so many wrestlers. Just a lot of people from that era. I don't think Sheamus was there. There was one point Teddy Hart, T.J. Wilson, and Natty got sent there, and then Teddy Hart was Teddy Hart, and then I think they stopped being there. The Hawkins and Ryder, the Major Brothers. Jesse and Festus was invented there. But I mean, I'm kind of on Instagram. Everything is at Colt Cabana. I'm on Twitch. I like to play video games on Twitch. I like to play Fortnite. So my Twitch is at Colt Cabana. Everything's at Colt Cabana. And my merchandise site is still up, coltmerch.com, if you ever want something from there. But Pro Wrestling Tees is still alive. ShopAEW.com is still alive. Oh, I host a live auction site, a live wrestling auction every single Tuesday night at 5:30 p.m. Central. PWTlive.com on Whatnot. And if you're into memorabilia, signed exclusives, that kind of stuff, there are so many hidden gems that go for so cheap there because not a lot of people know about it. So we're trying to get big. But you can go and get some crazy deals from the wrestlers. And it's a great way that AEW can kind of sell some one-off stuff. And then also Pro Wrestling Tees and the warehouse can kind of get rid of some of the stuff that we have in there that we wouldn't know how to sell. So it's a great platform, the live shopping experience, the live auction, pwtlive.com, every Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. Central. And that's it. Watch AEW Dynamite, watch AEW Collision, watch Juggalo Championship Wrestling on YouTube. I'm a JCW wrestling superstar. They have a very fun YouTube show, and just support wrestling.